This paper uses Kevin Lynch's framework on the image of the city to analyze Victoria Barracks in Oxford Street, Sydney. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Gadigal people who have made and continue to make valuable contributions to the rich cultural life of Sydney. The site chosen to study the urban morphology, public life, and sensory experiences is the Oxford Street along Victoria Barracks. As seen in the map, the barracks are enclosed by four roads: Green Road at the left, the Otley Road at the right, the Moor Road in the south, and the most prominent, Oxford Street in the north. The framework chosen is the image of the city by Kevin Lynch. According to Lynch, there are five main elements which provide a description of the perceptions about urban spaces: paths, edges, districts, nodes, and landmarks. These elements provide an understanding of imageability or legibility of a city. At every instant, there is more than the eye can see, more than the ear can hear, a setting or a view waiting to be explored. Nothing is experienced by itself, but always in relation to its surroundings, the sequences of events leading up to it, the memory of past experiences. Now, let's see how times have changed for Victoria Barracks and Oxford Street since 1788. Oxford Street was once an Aboriginal pathway and took its new name from South Head Road in 1875, developing as a busy commercial centre. Victoria Barracks, whose construction ranged from 1841 to 1848, developed from a remote military outpost into a part of Sydney's urbanisation. Today, the street holds a historic importance and reflects Sydney's economic and cultural diversification. Applying the concepts of Lynch, first consider the paths. Oxford Street is a continuous but intense path as its linearity is clear cut, thus becoming an instinctive path to travel through for the user. In the context of Victoria Barracks and Oxford Street, paths are the primary channels through which inhabitants move. Oxford Street is the primary path in the area running along the northern edge of Victoria Barracks. The street functions as a connecting path and is highly legible due to its linearity and history of significant commercial and social hub. The Green Road on the left runs along the western edge, and the Otley Road on the right runs along the eastern edge. These roads connect the residential parts to the Oxford Street and act as a boundary between the barracks and the surrounding urban fabric. The street is a perfect example of Lynch's concept of a strong path since it faces the view in a straight line without interruption. As noticed in the site images, continuity is already visually represented in the facades of building and even with the trains lined up on each side of the street, thus reinforcing rhythm and coherence. The 3D view of the street represents the linearity through the alignment of the trees and the build form along the street. The hierarchy of the street is also in evidence. Oxford Street is more important compared to the streets crossing it due to its commercial function. The land use zoning provides us with a better analysis as it can be noticed the Green Road and the Otley Road come under the pink area indicating use for residential and special purposes zone. The Oxford Street is indicated by purple denoting the area that combines residential, commercial and retail uses, encouraging pedestrian activity. Another critical concept is that of edges. The physical separation of the military area from the rest of the urban area is provided by the 450-meter long wall made of sandstone which surrounds Victoria Barracks. Looking at the street design, we can notice how edges play an important role in activation as well as segregation. The green strip along both ends of the road can be defined as pedestrian edge, acting as a buffer from traffic, providing shade and improving aesthetics at the same time. On both of the sides of the road, there are shared pathways and footpath in blue and pink, respectively, for pedestrian activity. Green space in front of the Victoria Barracks wall separating the commercial hub from the monotony of the wall, but at the same time maintaining heritage. This section shows property line markings the hard edge, ensuring setbacks that maintain balance in both built and open areas. The bike lanes and the shared pathways act as an active edge, whereas the green strips act as passive edges. Districts can be defined as spaces which have a distinct and common character. We can notice various characters: the historic military precinct of Victoria Barracks, residential area with Victorian era homes and modern apartments, and the thriving commercial area along Oxford Street. The street stitch captures something of that diversity in its architecture and streetscape. The image juxtaposes heritage buildings with contemporary businesses, reflecting Oxford Street's status as both a historical landmark and a social and commercial artery in Sydney today. You can see in the first image residential, historic Victorian era buildings with traditional facades and iron lacework maintaining street character. Consistent building scale and setbacks are visibly highlighted, appealing to the human eye. The second image shows contemporary commercial structures depicting evolution on the commercial street, pushing towards adaptation while maintaining historic character. Landmarks, according to Kevin Lynch, are references which help the people to navigate areas easily and can be simply defined by a noticeable physical object or building. The Victoria Barracks itself is a prominent historic landmark. The main gate can be a major point of reference. The gate is an expression of Lynch's landmark concept of singular elements that help users navigate and create memorable points in the urban landscape, carrying historical and cultural meaning. The Paddington Town Hall stands as an important and differentiating landmark due to its prominent clock tower, and the sculpture in front of the Victoria Barracks also creates a focal point, acting as a reference point. The morphology of the urban fabric has a great implication on the public life and affordances. The wall of the barracks blocks visually, while Oxford Street teems with people and the pulse of the commercial life. The monotony of the wall is kept by its uniformity with the lack of openings. This bequeaths a very monotonous view to the pedestrian. This constitutes an interesting comparison to the more dynamic facades of commercial buildings found along the Oxford Street with signages, storefronts, and active frontages that provide visual stimuli. As the site has less active storefronts in front of the Victoria Barracks wall, creating a bland neighborhood in contrast to the other sections of the Oxford Street, such as the Taylor Square. The wall could afford more if it were activated through installations or graffiti art that allows the pedestrian a small glimpse into the interior of the barracks or to the historic significance. This is a chart for activity mapping in Oxford Street, differentiating a different type of social activities and interactions occurring in the area. You can see people shopping, people sitting in green spaces, cyclists in shared pathways, and people walking dogs. Solid imposing sandstone walls near Victoria Barracks climb up to cover the rise and fall with the feel of military activity because of its history, carrying an air of formality and historic weight. Listen to the sounds of wind and feel the surroundings. Along Oxford Street, the sights, sound, and smell of a busy commercial area dominate the senses. Walk with me feeling the street character of the street. The street character gives a sense of familiarity and protection to the commercial and active street, making it more attractive to the pedestrians. The trees provide shade and buffer from the noises, also enhancing the public spaces and act as ornaments to the site. Most influential is the topography of the area, gentle rises and falls that delineate the pedestrian's experience and perception of the surrounding landscape. You can notice the undulations on the site in the side section. Looking to the future, planning controls aim to bring vibrancy and historical preservation and balance them out. Projects like the Oxford Street Cultural and Creative Precinct seek to revitalize the area while respecting its heritage. Victoria Barracks, listed on National Estate Register, requires a lot of modifications to preserve its historic character and sandstone frontage. In conclusion, this analysis using Lynch's framework reveals how paths, edges, districts, nodes, and landmarks contribute to the imageability of Victoria Barracks and Oxford Street. These insights can guide urban planners in enhancing both the spatial organization and livability of this historic area. Key recommendations for this site are: create seamless pedestrian and cyclist paths linking Victoria Barracks with the Oxford Street, establish clear transitions between districts while maintaining distinct character. Key recommendations for the site are: create seamless pedestrian and cyclist paths along Victoria Barracks and Oxford Street, establish clear transitions between districts while maintaining distinct character, transform entrance areas into vibrant public spaces, develop green spaces around Victoria Barracks, protect historic landmarks, and diversify streetscape through mixed materials, strategic lighting, enhanced landscaping. Thank you for the attention to this exploration of Sydney's urban landscape.